Good morning, everybody. And, geez, after what we just went through in 2020, one thing is certain for sure about our economy, and that's that all rules are out the window. So, we're going to talk about the economy today and where to move forward from here. So, what happened in 2020? Well, gold didn't really do what it was supposed to do, Bitcoin didn't really do what it was supposed to do. In this time of uncertainty about what role Bitcoin was going to play and all kinds of cryptocurrencies would play in terms of what the government was going to do to handle the rise of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. All cards were off the table and all bets were off. It just didn't seem like anything really made sense in how it was all panning out. Of course, Bitcoin's doing really well, but a lot of people failed to anticipate that. They thought that maybe, government intrusion into Bitcoin would cause it to fall again. What else did we have? We had the stock market. It didn't do what it was supposed to do either. According to Precedent, all throughout history, economic history of the United States, we should be in a deep, deep depression right now. I mean, we've got 20 to 30% of Americans out of work or underemployed because of these stay-at-home orders, lockdowns, and small business closures. We've got loan and credit card defaults looming in almost every single family budget. We've got bankruptcies, evictions at an all-time high, dwarfing any other time in recent history. And none of this makes any sense that our economy is still plugging along. This is what they're telling us. This is how you know that a lot of what the mainstream media reports is fake. Here they talk about market edges toward euphoria despite the spam endemic tolls, and saying that it won't quit as if they have no idea why it's being propped up the way it is. The entire reason to prop up the economy is that they're trying everything that they can to make sure you get it, the jab. And they want to basically restore confidence and keep things very tightly controlled to make sure that you're guided in through the cattle gates to take this thing, this it, we call it now on this show. Now, the latest mainstream stories as of today are saying that 60 to 70% of Americans are going to get it. And that's just so hard for me to believe. But this is what they're saying. And they're saying that we, in fact, will reach herd immunity with the current polls on people that want to get it. And this is kind of probably why also Fauci is really pushing this number up. He's creeping it up because, hey, they're like, if we can get 60 or 70, let's push it up to 80. Then let's push it up to 85. Let's get his meat, because every time that Mr. F, I call him the F word, opens his mouth and drives people to get it, guess what? That's like cha-ching. Cha-ching. But hey, what is this really about? Well, it's about Americans. And anytime there's some kind of premeditated shortage, people go and run and buy the last of it. And this is how easily we're manipulated. Look what happened with toilet paper. People saw a premeditated shortage, which make no mistake, these are all like dry runs. These are dry runs, so they can see how people continue to react. So they shorted the toilet paper market. They go, okay, let's see what's going to happen. And of course, everybody went in and goes, oh, we can't run out of toilet paper. Ran to the toilet and wiped out all the toilet paper shelves. Now, This is, of course, is Trump with the toilet paper on the bottom of his shoe, getting into Air Force One. And of course, this was long before any toilet paper crisis. I believe this was some kind of a foreshadowing. Nobody saw toilet paper on the bottom of his shoe? Come on. This is how they mock us. Now, we did a full decode on Unilever, which gave Trump millions of dollars that's on paper from his tax returns, but probably much, much more. Unilever makes Q-tips. They don't make surgical Q-tips, the ones used in the clinics to do the testing, but they make toilet paper. They make all of the sanitary things that you use to sterilize everything. Napkins, wipes, antibacterial. They're making a killing right now. A killing. Now, what else happened? Well, we saw our food prices go up. Here's from Food Business News. Food prices went through the roof. Now, according to this article, there were some estimates as much as 30% on certain items like meats. Certain meats went up 30%. Now, why would they do that? It's not because there's less slaughterhouses. It's not because there's a shortage of supply. It's not because all the people in the slaughterhouses got ill. There's some kind of outbreak. This is part of the agenda. They want to do this because they want you to eat less meat. This is where it's all headed, you guys. This is how they steer. They're getting you used to eating less meat. Okay, you go to the grocery store. You see that beef's up 30% compared to all the other items. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to buy less of it, probably. And then you're going to get used to not eating it at all. This is where they want to take us. And if you don't know about abstinence from meat, read 1 Timothy in the Bible and what they describe it as and the doctrine of it. Not that you are forbidden from choosing that lifestyle, but if you're going around shaming other people and saying and telling them that it's evil to eat an animal, you're part of that doctrine of demons, which is what they call it in 1 Timothy. And so this is obviously part of the agenda. They've made themselves clear they're going to try to eradicate meat. They're saying that, there's the doctrine of methane, right? They're trying to say they're going to try to bill us back for cows farting in the field, saying it's contributed to warming, which is just ludicrous. And then they've got all of the lifestyle of the elite is vegan. It just is, you guys. I mean, if we're going to really be honest about this, are we going to follow their agenda, or are we going to believe what the Bible says about where all this is headed? So, of course, they're going to spike the meat prices to further their agenda along. They never let a good crisis go to waste. And so this is where all this is headed. So, food prices went up. On regular items, it was between 5 and 10%. So, this was the direct result of stimulus payouts and the shutdowns. We all paid more for our food. Now, for a billionaire or millionaire who spends maybe 0.005% of their income on food, that would be no big deal. But for you and I, who spend probably a quarter of our income on food, this is a very big deal. Do you see how we are the ones that have paid for all this? Not the elite, not the rich, not the billionaires. And of course, they're going to do their price gouging to get all their money back from these stimulus checks that they sent out. Now, what else happened? Well, we had food delivery, online food delivery, online shopping. They got rich. Those corporations got richer, while the average American got much, much poorer. And I don't understand how Americans are not seeing this. They still will side with the billionaire and millionaires on both sides of the aisle, thinking that they have the answers when they've just fleeced us in plain sight. Why are we not demanding for this to end? And why do we think a check in the mail is the solution? It's simply not. That's just living on borrowed time. So here we are in this wacky world of economics. And one thing is certain after everything I just told you, and that is that the word economic contains the word con in it, like a con job. And the whole thing is fake. It favors the rich and punishes the poor. And the stimulus checks are just one more way for the government to position itself within our economic infrastructure to then take it back later at some future point. Now, have we ever considered how they're going to get this back out of us at some point? Have we ever considered that they might bill us back for all this through our Social Security that you're supposed to get? Short us on what we paid into, claiming that they need it to balance the deficit? It'd be really easy to do, you guys. They could just blame it on CV-19. They'll say it's not our fault. It was the unexpected impact of CV. And it's all our fault because people kept ignoring the rules we set out to beat this thing. That's what they're going to say. They're going to blame it on us because, every holiday that came around, you guys kept traveling and do you see how the bar that they're setting is impossible to meet? And so they're setting up this straw man argument that we can never meet. First, everyone did the 2 weeks. We thought it would be over then. No, it wasn't over. Then they'll just come out and say, we're going to reduce your Social Security benefit by 15% right off the top. We're going to call it a CV-19 tax, and this is going to go on for 25 years until we get our money back from everything you guys just went to. And if I'm around when this happens, we're going to do a video on it. Now, I've got a premiere set up, I think, for Tuesday or Wednesday. And back in summer of 2020, we did a video on what exactly was going to happen because of this crisis. We talked about the VC. And basically, all of that is now coming to fruition. And I've got it documented in 2 shows that we did way back in the summer. And I told you guys the 2 weeks wouldn't be the end of it. Had we listened then, we wouldn't be where we're at now. So how do we get around all this? That is the question. Well, we have a biblical precedent. And what is that? Yeshua, Jesus Christ. He was a carpenter. He was a skilled laborer. So that means that is a noble profession. If the Son of God did it, then we can do it. We can be skilled, self-employed laborers, or we can develop skills that are valuable. I know we're operating in the beast system, but Jesus was the same. Do you think he declined to build something for someone just because, the Romans or whatever? You think he declined those kinds of building? No, he probably did all kinds of carpentry work. Now, they don't really tell us what he did. We know he didn't build any churches. That's interesting. Because the church is you and me. It's all of us gathering together. We're having church right now. And so, but he did have a skilled labor. He was skilled in something. There are also biblical passages that talk about an honest day's labor, whether that be in the spiritual, like we do here. Spend a lot of hours putting together these shows and videos for you guys, because this is very, very important. And you can either be a spiritual laborer or you can be a physical laborer, helping someone to fix their house so they have shelter, so that rain doesn't come onto them and they're not cold. There's something to be said about that. And the Bible says that he who works then has the right to eat. So we talked a few shows ago about these certification programs. That's what we're going to go over today. But I had to give you the backdrop of the economy and how the future is uncertain if you're going to be looking for jobs in certain sectors, but it will be You'll have a much more certain future if you focus on some of these skilled labor jobs that are going to be in demand. We talked about these certification programs that almost anybody can go through to learn a skill. Many of them don't even require a high school degree, high school graduation diploma. And a lot of these jobs will earn you $50,000 a year starting out, and in many instances, much more. We also talked about how if our government really wanted to change poverty, really wanted to change crime and gangs in some of these inner city places in America, where these ghettos are, where there's lots of crime, that they would take a very small fraction of the budget and they would mail flyers to every inner city household. Flyers that contain information on exactly how and who to call and how to apply for these schools. It'll show them how to apply for financial aid and help them to earn money the right way. Instead of feeling hopelessness, instead of feeling like nobody cares about them, instead of feeling like this world wasn't made for them, instead of feeling like they're on the sidelines. How about information? Our government claims to be the experts on the economy and everything, but yet they fail to do the correct marketing to the right people to get the jobs where they need to go. That would make an immediate impact on crime because people would have an option. Can you imagine being reminded every single day in the mail or every week, having a flyer come in and go, look, this is directly for you in your household. We understand you may not have a job right now. We understand that you might be involved in activities that are illegal because you feel like you don't have any hope or no one's looking out for you. Well, guess what? We're looking out for you. And you can call this number and apply for financial aid to attend a school that will then place you after you graduate. And you can make $50,000 a year. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? People sometimes come onto the channel and they're like, Casey, people don't want to work. People don't want to work because they don't want to go make $12 an hour and then have to pay for fuel back and forth to work and commute 2 hours. Then not even get paid for their lunch break. That's why people don't want to work. Who'd want to work for that? I wouldn't. You want your work to go somewhere. You want your work to pay for something. You want a nice little apartment, or you want to save up for some land, or you want to have enough to go do something. You don't want to work and be a slave. Everybody wants to work. They just need to have their labor be fruitful. And that's a biblical principle as well. Now, we were talking about these flyers. They would contain bulletins that communicated up and coming job sectors where workers would be needed, that would be in demand. It would show what part of the country they're in. We talked about some kind of guarantee of a job upon completion of the program for those in special need or those people in certain income levels. We talked about a human job queue, so that one person isn't applying and interviewing for dozens and dozens of jobs and never getting them. They would be in a queue. And every time they got denied, it would be documented. And after that happened 3 or 4 or 5 times, there should be a flag put on their efforts and they should get the next job that they apply for. You see how this works? You see how the world could be a much better place with a little bit of effort and planning in the right places, that our government never has come up with these ideas? They're supposed to be such smart people. How is it that a guy like me can come up with something like this? I mean, literally, this would cost the price of paper and sending out flyers in people's mailboxes. We talked about that if these people were qualified, an employer would be required to place that person after a set number of failed interviews. But sadly, we know that our government will never put these kinds of laws onto corporations or these kinds of requirements to take some responsibility. So I don't anticipate that they're going to use any of these ideas, but, it's good to talk about these things. And this would be something that I would do if I were ever president one day, which I don't really aspire to or want to, but these would be some of the ideas that I would implement so that this would have a direct impact on crime. It would pay for itself. Sometimes, you guys, people just need a clear path to know that their efforts would mean something and that they're not just spinning their wheels. They need help navigating the 30,000-foot view of their future and where their career will be needed, not just shooting in the dark and investing tens of thousands of dollars into some kind of education only to fall flat on their face and in more debt. This is America. We should be able to do that for people. Here's what I think. I think that corruption is always what stands in the way of our government actually helping the people. And I take it a step further. I think that they intentionally don't do this for people because they need crime in America. Crime is big business, believe it or not. Police departments. This is why they have so much time to run around and write speeding tickets, because they could be focused on other things. You've got the criminal justice system. You got prisons. Secretly, they don't really want to do anything real about crime because that's on our level. That's something you and I have to deal with and struggle with every single day. Afraid of what neighborhood we're going to end up in, that we're going to have to live in. The elite don't care about stuff like that because they buy their way out of it. They don't really care about us. So let's talk about solutions. What's the way out? Well, it's in demand. It's in demand skilled labor. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to look at just a few of these jobs and exactly who to call, how to sign up. And if you're in a bad place right now, maybe this show will give you some direction going into 2021. A lot of people lost their livelihoods trying to stay afloat through this thing. And maybe it's time to change direction in your life. This first one we're going to look at is wind energy. Now, I've got this pulled up. This is, and I'll put links to all this in the pinned comment. This is a government website, and it shows you all the U.S. wind energy education and training programs. Look at all of these. Now, I learned a little trick on my keyboard. Let's see if it works. Oh, yeah, that works. That's cool. This is the zoom. There's like a zoom you can do. There we go. You just spread your fingers apart and together, and you can zoom in on your ThinkPad. I didn't know that before. I did it by accident the other day, and it freaked me out. Anyway, in blue are community colleges, green universities, and purple other education. So you can find a school right next to you. You won't even have to move to go to your school. All of these. Now I'm going to tell you what to ask for when you call up some of these numbers. So I don't want you guys shooting in the dark, so to speak. But here are some of the other maps on this website. Let's see. Let's look at some of these. This shows you wind speed. So you can actually see where the most wind happens in America, which would indicate that they're going to be putting up more turbines. Let's go down here. That's offshore 90-meter wind resource potential. I wouldn't want to live over there, but that's what they're showing us. U.S. installed and potential wind power capacity and generation. So this would be your market potential here. Okay, so you can decide where you want to live after you leave the school. And there's all kinds of maps here, so I'll link that. Now, here's one of the many schools across the nation. Northwest Renewable Energy Institute. Now, the purpose of this show is to help you. I'm getting nothing back from this. I'm simply a thinker, a person that tries to solve problems and expose evil. And so, naturally, my empathetic side wants to help people when I see a lot of pain and hurt and people feeling lost. This is, I believe, the heart of Jesus. This is what he puts on us. We want to help people when we see people in misery. We want to help come up with solutions. That's why we're doing this show today. There's no kickback to this channel whatsoever. This is simply sharing information. So, of course, we know that Trump downplayed the wind turbine sector during his administration, talked about dead birds and stuff like that. But this is here to stay, and I can tell you why. On my way back across the country from the East Coast, I saw many, many semi-trucks on the highway loaded up with massive blades, these blades that are attached to these turbine engines. And they were taking them to these wind turbine fields. This isn't going away, you guys, and these are high-paying jobs in this sector. Estimates of $50,000 to $60,000 a year right after graduation from this certification program. As I shared in the last show, I tried to get my son into this, but he's afraid of heights. But somebody told me you don't even have to climb up on here, that only the electric engineers climb up here. The rest of the crew stays down the bottom because they're not certified to really work on the electronic parts. Now, I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what I was told. So let's browse through this site a little bit and get into a little bit more of the details of this. And I'll be back in the chat in a minute. So, future students, wind turbine and telecom technical training program, enroll today. Class start dates, financial aid, scholarships. Request more information. Wind turbine, salary, and jobs. Let's click on this one. So, the road to becoming a wind turbine technician does not need to be a long one. After only 6 months in our program, you will be prepared to apply for positions all throughout the country. The wind turbine industry is growing. There's presently a massive demand for technicians as the world becomes persistent of green energy. Now, a lot of this stuff gets assembled on the ground. So maybe you're going to be an assembler. Maybe if you've already got a college degree, you can go straight into management. But look at this. After 6 months, you earn $52,000, almost $53,000 a year. Installation, maintenance, and repair, $42,000 for almost $43,000 a year. And all occupations, 36. So this is a 6-month program, you guys. This is more than I was making when I got out of a 4-year Bachelor of Science degree. I started out making 30, and after like 4 or 5 years, well, actually about 7 years, I was into the 6 figures, but it took me that long to get to that with my degree. It says the wages of apprentices typically start at 60% of fully trained technician. So you're an apprentice for a while, and that's typical as you learn the job. A lot of people in these inner cities are very talented people. They know how to fix cars and work on mechanical things. Okay? They know how to be resourceful. This is exactly the kind of job that you would have a lot of fun doing if you chose to do it. So, this is just a little snapshot into one of the sites. You can request transcripts, diploma request. If you're a current student, they have resources here. Veterans, if you're a veteran. Okay. Here's your career portal. So it looks like they help with a little bit of placement. So here's the first thing I recommend when looking into something like this. You want to call the phone numbers. You want to talk to someone. You want to ask them what the total costs are, not what's printed on the website. There might be hidden costs. Okay. You probably want to find one of these close to your house if you can't move or if you have children, so you're not traveling. There might be one of these schools in the town next to you. You might want to ask about job placement rates. How many of the graduates actually get placed? And you can ask them what areas of the country are in high demand that are hiring aggressively for your specific certification. You want to ask about how involved they get with helping to place you, because that matters. What good is certification if there's no guarantee of a job? And of course, many of you will need financial aid. Ask how much aid they're awarding and under what circumstances that they typically award financial aid. And you can see if you match up with that, if you align with that. Let me see if they have, what is the cost of this one? How much does, okay, So here's all the certifications here. Wow, they got all kinds. High torque bolting certification. So you'd be assembling these things. Now, this would be a noble type of career. Now, there's other careers that I'm not going to talk about on this channel because I don't believe in them, like 5G Whiz. That's in very high demand too, and that upcoming infrastructure. But I won't ever recommend that because that is, in my opinion, working with the beast and directly against God's people, and it'll be our future prison and enslavement. So I wouldn't recommend that. But something like this, you're creating energy out of nothing, obviously, and it has nothing to do with being green or the environment. That's not the way I look at wind energy. Okay. So here's other. They've even got a medic, first aid. You can be a medic on one of these things. There's an OSHA 10 certification and work at height safe access and rescue. All kinds of jobs here. Here's some of the equipment. And request more information. Wind technician. Let's do this. How much does wind tech school cost? I like to do live research with you guys sometimes just to show you how to do searches. A lot of people don't know how to do searches, you know. Let's see, is the cost, let's see, tuition costs about 10 grand. This is about how much it costs, and it's going to be plus or minus depending on what school you go to. But again, if you get financial aid, that would cut into that. It wouldn't be as much. Here's Iowa Lakes Community College, wind and energy turbine tech in Iowa, 10 grand, 3 semesters, 48 credits, diploma program. Here's one for 9,000. They probably range anywhere from 8 to 15,000. Here's one in Kalamazoo Valley, Michigan, 14 grand. So it all depends on what part of the country you go to. This will be part of your planning process. You're also going to ask them when you call the number, is there a way to slowly pay back your tuition over time? Do you have to come up with the money up front? These would be questions you can ask them as well. Obviously, a lot of people don't have 10 grand, but think of the financial stability you'll have going into the future. Now, another one, industry I wanted to talk about is heating and air conditioning. Now, some of you, I mean, if you guys are certified in any of this that we're talking about today, wind technician or heating and air conditioning, please chime in the chat and share your experience. This is about sharing information. Tell people about the training that you went through with your heating and air conditioning, how much you make. Now here, this site shows 12 high-paying trade jobs, all right? And licensed practical nurse. I wouldn't want to be a nurse right now. They make $25 an hour. Hvac Technician came up number 2. This is what we're going to look at next. They make $23 an hour. They make almost as much as a licensed nurse. It says here, HVAC techs install, repair, and maintain heating, ventilation, refrigeration, and air conditioning systems. Techs can perform all of these services or specialize in a type of service like installation and type of system like heating or air conditioning. HVAC techs can perform repairs on large industrial units and smaller residential units. They can make positive impact on the environment by installing equipment that saves both energy for their clients and money. Their services improve the air quality and thermal comfort of the homes. They can change old air filters, installing heat pumps. Now, obviously, the same rules apply. to this in terms of asking the correct questions when you go into this. How much is the school? Where is this in demand in the country? So I can consider relocating. There's home inspector. I don't know if they make that much money anymore. Plumber, electrician. These guys all make $25 an hour. I don't know about a landscape designer. That seemed like it wouldn't be as in high demand. Respiratory therapist, they're probably making a killing right now with everything going on with CV-19, right? So this is what's going on. We're looking at certifications. So I just looked in my area, and there's all kinds of schools for heating and air conditioning. So hopefully I've given you guys enough information to get started, give you some hope going into 2021. You know, life doesn't have to always be depressing and pointless. You don't have to stay broke. You know, and in today's day and age, there are just as many women applying for these kinds of jobs as there are men. So you don't have to worry about sexism or racism, okay? In fact, a lot of these industries are really looking to hire diversity. So you're going to be in a much better position that way. I'm going to go into the chat here for a little bit. And I would like to see some of your guys' experience. Any of you guys who are certified in any of these areas, it'd be neat to hear your experience. Some people are talking about your own personal wind energy. I think that's a great idea. Stick a turbine up and make use of the windy day to run some of your stuff. Yeah, I heard about, we actually talked about what happened to Jeff on yesterday morning show. If you guys tuned into that, we were talking about that. Wow, call was taken down. Let me see. He might have taken down his own video. It's a great career, but you don't live long breathing in the CFCU, even though that you in that take, you still breathe them. Average life technician, 50 years old. They don't have like masks. You wouldn't think they would have people wear masks doing that kind of work. Wind turbines overheat. I get notes every week on jobs, and my best friend wife is home nurse. She's making $57 an hour. Wow. David says, how long were you in the Joe's Witness community? That was until I went to college. Oh yeah, he took it down, says Allie. Yeah, he probably took it down. I know. I don't even like to say this channel's name, but he came into the chat from what I heard and started causing all kinds of drama. I don't know how that guy, and I'm not talking about Call for an Uprising, I'm talking the guy that was trolling Call for an Uprising. I don't even know how that guy has one subscriber. But a lot of people love drama. A lot of people like smoke and mirrors. And so, it was just sad to see all the focus go off of what happened to Jeff and onto drama. It's probably why Call took the video down. But, it's amazing. Brandy did a lot for the community. She was an activist. She was actually out there. And, she had billboards that she made warning people against VCs. And she had multiple interviews on many, many different outlets. And this is just how the truth community works, right? She was a real activist, and there wasn't much fuss made about her, which was kind of sad. I guess there was supposed to be some kind of an investigation. She had like a dead man's trigger in case anything happened to her to investigate. That has stalled out as far as I know. But she was the real deal, and it's like none of these big channels really did any videos on her. It's really sad after she died. It's just weird. It's like what happened to our truth community? And I'm not taking anything away from what happened to Jeff. It's very, very sad. But Jeff was more of a mouthpiece. And Brandy was a real boots on the ground activist. She was on the steps of many Capitol buildings. She was just never stopped. Hundreds and hundreds of interviews. You can find them right here on YouTube. So all souls are valuable and all people. But sometimes I don't know. I'm just going to leave it at that. I was just very sad that more people didn't stand up for Brandy and do a video on her. I know that who did do a video on Brandy was Ben Swan. He actually met her too. A lot of people met Brandy. She put her face out there. That's the true, when someone comes out and you know their identity, you know exactly who they are, that's dangerous. That is very dangerous to the powers that be. And she's gone. So I just wish that we had a different community sometimes. It seems like everyone and their brother did a video on Jeff's passing, and I can count on half of a hand how many people did a video on Brandy's passing. So, all right. Yeah, for those that are just figuring all this out, Jeff passed away several days ago. He was found. They're not really sure how he died. I guess he was having migraines going into it, but who knows what exactly happened to him. He was very private. Nobody really knew his real identity. A few of his close friends did. Well, that's cool. Davy Crocco covered Brandy. That's great. The Rasta Man Lives. That's great that he covered that. Jeff had been around in the truth community for a very long time. I knew him back when my YouTube channel started in 2012, and right about 2013, I was on a couple of shows with him. And Jeff was a lot more raw back then. It was neat to see how Jeff grew, because he did grow into a more leveled truth person. I think he realized that he didn't want to be characterized as an Alex Jones type. But in the beginning, there was a lot of everything's a hoax, everything's fake, and this got our community into a lot of trouble. A lot of channels got taken down because they were saying every single thing was a hoax, and they would really just shame any victims, and that kind of set the precedent for a lot of channels being taken down. Okay, was that everything was a hoax, right? And then this is when YouTube put in these rules where they called it bullying. All that came about because of a string of YouTube channels in a group, and I'm not saying Jeff was part of that, but he had a much different delivery back in 2013 than he does now. He mellowed out quite a bit. But basically, back then there was a group of truthers I can remember, and they would just come out and just shame the victims. Now, we all know that these victims weren't real, a lot of them, but is the tactic really to just shame them? That's not going to get us anywhere. All that's going to get us is deleted, and so we fell right into their trap. And these channels, YouTube was rewarding them at first, monetizing all their videos. They were making all kinds of money doing this. They basically sold out to what was popular. Okay, they sold out to what was popular, and a couple that come to mind was like Red Silver J and all these, these guys would every day they put up videos, just funny videos mocking the victims. And I knew where it was headed. I wanted no part of it. I'm like, you guys, there's so many other things to talk about what happened during that event than just to clown on these people. This is going to come back to bite us. And absolutely it did. Came back to bite us. And ended up what happened. And the YouTube changed forever because of that phenomenon. All right. That was the driving force behind it. And then later, I do know that Jeff had given us a couple shout outs here and there. I know he was on with KJ, and I think he might have mentioned my channel. I think KJ mentioned him. He's like, I like Casey. So I'm not saying any of this to discredit Jeff's legacy. I'm just saying that he came full circle, and now he's mellowed out, and people even said that he had actually even found Christ. That's great news. That's wonderful news. So I don't know exactly what happened to him, and God rest his soul. If he did find Christ, that would be amazing, and he's going to be in a better place, right? He doesn't have to suffer through the rest of this like the rest of us. So some people are into the ranting and that whole thing, and hey, if that's your thing, that's great. I don't like to do that. I like to keep things above bar, because ultimately that's how we're going to stick around. That's how we're going to be able to communicate the injustices. And there is a fine line between getting angry and upset about this stuff and trying to keep your cool. But some people like that energy. They like that energy. That's why you see huge mega channels that kind of err on the side of, that kind of energy, because that's what people resonate with. That's the world we live in. I'm kind of boring, but some people like boring. Some people like boring. I'd rather have boring than and be around and reach more people, I guess, on a more functional level than stressing everyone out or, being really loud or whatever. I don't know. So that's the story. That's what happened. And a lot of people are still not, hadn't heard of that this had happened. 9 months for $50K. Guess what? Hazy. Yeah, a 5-year degree is not going to get you $50,000 a year these days. So I would rather go for 6 or 9 months and have something that I can carry with me for my entire life and really never be broke and always have a job than, so. Okay. All right. I'm going to let you guys go. I love each and every one of you. Be saved if you haven't already today. Life is short. You never know when the end of your life is going to come. So you might want to get saved today. And that's not a thing of fear. It's a thing of, your salvation and your eternity. All right. Give it a try. You never know. You never know. God might reach out to you and confirm everything. Being saved doesn't mean that you're committing yourself to show up to a church every Sunday and say, God bless you every other 5 sentences. That's not what being saved means. Okay? Being saved means you let Jesus into your heart, you submit, and you understand that he knows what's best for you. You believe in him. The Bible does say you should get baptized, but that doesn't mean you have to go into a church to do that. Go into your swimming pool in the backyard or go into the ocean and have someone that is also a believer do it for you. You don't even have to have a crowd of people around you. It's between you and God. We should all be doing this if you haven't done it already. Even if you don't believe in God, just try it. Try it. And see what happens. Say, God, I'm going to put, if you're out there, I'm putting this in your hands. I'm putting this in your hands, and I'm going to try this, and I'm going to let you do the rest. And you'll be shocked at how quickly that simple act of submission can change your life. I'm positive of it. And we can all pray individually for those people that God touches their heart and reaches out to them through that simple act of submission. I love each and every one of you. Have a great day. Be safe, everybody.